Today I'm with my friend Boris Bogatin, CEO and co-founder of Cat.io. And Cat.io recently won the Coolest Tech Award at Venture Beat Transform 2025 in San Francisco. And Boris, you describe Cat.io as an AI co-pilot for tech architecture that reframes architecture as a living system. So to start, I wanted to get into what problems does Cat.io solve?
Yeah. No, and it's interesting. There's a couple of different ways to approach it, but I'm going to do it from perspective of what's really top of mind for a lot of people. There's a big buzz about coding copilots, and they are unequivocally transforming productivity around software development, which is great. And with all that being said, when you kind of really dissect it, coding more lines of code is good, and getting productivity is good. But if you're heading in the right direction versus the wrong direction, that's where ROI is lost or won.
Hmm.
And the right direction versus the wrong direction is architecture. It's what tech should you be building before you actually build any tech whatsoever in the first place. And today, that part of it, which is like, how do we determine what we should be building and how do we set architecture? How do we figure out what needs to be optimized? All of that is done on whiteboards, ad
Hmm.
hoc reviews, completely tribal knowledge, smart people, your engineering leaders, and all the way down to developers that are making these kind of decisions as well, but all done by them organically without any tooling. And that's exactly the space that we're attacking. We're attacking the tech intelligence, the tech architecture space as a co-pilot for tech architecture. The other way to think about it is that you have finance folks that have DCF models. And Excel is funny. Excel is like such an old tool, but it serves tremendously well for finance professionals. I mean, in a sophisticated finance kind of domain, like talk about investment banking with leveraged buyout models, they are modeling 300 tab models that like literally it's really amazing. It's full-blown system models of whatever they're investing, backing with sensitivity analysis and a lot of kind of discrete analyses. And if you think about kind of modalities, you go down the line, your salespeople have Salesforce. Business people in general have business intelligence. And you kind of come back to tech and you look at software development. Software development is filled with tooling. Coding copilots are the latest addition to it. But Atlassian, GitHub, when you take a look at observability, Splunk, and Datadog, the full DevOps loop is filled with tooling that's enabling software developers to, again, build code very effectively. But where is the system intelligence? Where is the system
Hmm.
control plane, control system, like finance folks have, like Salesforce sales people have? It doesn't exist. It's whiteboards. So that's a good way of describing what Cat.io is attacking.
So there's so many factors into making a decision regarding architecture and systems and everything. So there's so many different data points. What about the word simulation? When I was reading up a little bit more, I heard the word simulation in your description. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, so if you think about what Cat.io is really building, the way that we started the solving the problem, we said, if we're going to be really good at this, first thing and foremost, we need to get our hands on data, and we need to give that data to people. The new plans, kind of as far as designs and forward-thinking things, they matter because they're still data-driven, but the data that's in there is forward. You don't know what the data is. You're trying to figure that out.
Mhm.
The data that exists is today's system. What's today's system? Here's the data around today's system. So we started with building a digital twin of your tech stack. So changing the notion of architecture, like literally from a whiteboard or a drawing that's done on a piece of paper or PowerPoint. Today, Miro has become an amazing tool. We love Miro, so full embracement of Miro. But as an architecture system model, it's not that. It's a drawing. It's a drawing system and a design system, which is nice. But we started with digital twin, and that gave us data and allowed us to expose that data in the way that humans process that data today, which is through architecture drawings and intelligence around it. And then we kind of spun the loop. So coming back to a question that you asked, simulation, what does that mean? If you think about kind of back to that DCF kind of example, we enter a bunch of numbers, we kind of understand what the thing is, and then we try to forecast it forward, right? Like if you think about any forecast, DCF models, it's a matter of like, here's what the thing is. Now let me forecast it forward. I'm going to predict the future. What's 3, 5 years going to look down the line going to look like? And then you do your forecast. You do it on the basis of historical numbers. How do people invest in stocks? How do people invest in anything? It's on the basis of some premise of historical and some premise of understanding the future and fundamentals around what may drive the future. So in similar context here, we now have the current. That's the digital twin and everything we've kind of baked into that. And now it's a matter of forecasting out what is the future going to look like. And it's not just the future of the existing domain, it's the future of any given design that you want to have. And so proposing an architecture and a design spec is helpful. And we are doing that. But beyond that, what's really interesting is that, ideal for any, like again, human actor, for anybody, is to also process some scenarios. If you think about scenario analysis, really powerful part of the finance function.
Mm.
The reason why you have that is because you want to test different sensitivities. You want to test different forecast predictions. And by testing certain different assumptions for each one of these and looking at the scenarios, you start getting a sense of here's the top scenario, here's the bottom scenario, here's the middle, and you start getting a range. So it's not just like one thing that may be completely wrong, maybe completely right, but you start getting a range. And with that range, you start coming together as far as like what is it's most likely going to be, because I now see the differences. Same thing with simulations. Like it's not just creating a design for you, but letting you play around with 3, 4, 5 different designs that all have trade-offs, profiling those trade-offs for you, and letting you kind of be, as a human actor, decide not just what AI thinks is the future best design, but also kind of what are some of the variables that you can consider and maybe pick between
Mm.
the.
Okay. So if you were to think of the greatest benefits of Cat.io for a business, how would you describe those?
Um, Today, $1 trillion and growing rapidly is spent on software development and tech costs. And what we're talking about there, the rough numbers, we're talking about there is $500 billion on cloud and cloud infrastructure and services. Think about it, AWS, GCP, Azure, and beyond. And then half of it on humans, developers writing code around the world. And we've come to kind of accept, and in a big part driven by what Google and Amazon really drove, kind of at the turn of the century, in the kind of the internet heydays and the internet bubble, like the emergence of internet, as really kind of the tech-driven world. Today, we live in a world that we believe is tech-driven. So what does that mean? What does being tech-driven mean? Tech-driven means that you know, your business value, your business growth, your enterprise value and the makeup in the future is going to be governed by your tech stack. This is why we have, trillion-dollar companies, and each one of the trillion-dollar, probably not each one, I don't know all of them, but most of the trillion-dollar companies that I know are tech companies. The reason why is because tech is really important. So every company is trying to be tech-driven. Okay, so we're all on the same page, tech-driven. And the outcome is business value, big business value. And then you come back and you say, okay, we're trying to be tech driven. The big outcome is business value. Okay, that's good. And wait, what is the only place where we don't use a DCF model or a Salesforce or a system model to plan things is around our tech? Wait, let me
Mm.
get this right. The thing that drives all of the business outcome is the one thing that we do on whiteboards? That's fascinating. The thing, the world has changed. It's become tech driven, data driven, tech driven. But yet the one place where we still don't use data or tech is the tech planning itself. Fascinating. We're solving that.
Okay, so as far as the benefits to the business, is it like does it eliminate risks? Like what would be some of the biggest impacts to businesses?
So one, you're talking about developer productivity and true productivity of your tech. That, because writing more lines of code does not mean productivity. It just means
Mm.
more lines of code. You write more lines of code into the wrong direction, you're actually probably going to have negative productivity. You're just going to create a bunch of junk that's not going to move you
Mm.
forward at all. The ROI, the productivity comes from first from decisions and then from actual execution. And you go down the list, cost savings. What's cost savings mean? You have a whole category of tools called FinOps that are great tools. And they enable CFOs and finance professionals to really start getting a very granular assessment of where the costs stack up. What are the problems with that?
Hmm.
Knowing what something costs. Let's say, a good example that I like to use with my customers. Kafka costs $10,000. All right, is $10,000 for Kafka too much or too little? Is it even spent on the right thing? Where I'm going is that, I can build you a Ferrari for $2 million or a junker for 2,000. Which one's right for you?
Hmm.
Cost does not mean anything in its isolation. Completely means meaningless. 10,000 could be big, little, wrong. It only matters in light of the system. And the system has a lot of different parameters. It has cost, performance, capabilities, security, resilience, scalability, and all of those things matter to certain requirements and certain goals and outcomes. So the only way to determine how to manage costs down is to know what impacts cost reductions in certain places have on the rest of the system. And where
Mm.
can you lower costs, optimize costs without impacting the system?
Cool. So where do you use the AI in the solution?
The most prominent place AI use, and it's pervasive. We're an AI company. Any right AI native company today is doing things with AI pervasively throughout the platform. So once we know and kind of generate the digital twin of your tech stack, so you have a system model, the architecture that's now a system model of your tech stack, AI starts evaluating that. And when I say AI, we have a multi-agent AI system. I think 31 AI agents, if I'm not mistaken, and they map an entire tech org with AI agents. What I mean by that is think about it like a chief architect, a data architect, a networking architect, a messaging architect, so specialists in different parts of the architecture, application architects, product retrieving AI agents that understand product management and product requirements, DevOps agents that understand actual infrastructure. And they all talk to each other. And what do the AI agents do? They do the same thing that humans do around whiteboards. They literally have conversations with each other to whiteboard the best architecture, except they're leveraging the entire corpus of data. The other side of it is that same system powers now, we just launched, the other day announced a launch of Archie, our conversational copilot. So, when you start talking to the AI now, which is conversational part of that, it uses the same underbelly.
So the ramifications, if companies don't use Cat.io, is they spend a lot of human labor coding. They might be building things that they don't really need. They might be building things that are going to be out of date. And then they might be investing in technology that they don't need.
No, that's it. And by the way, it happens all the time.
So, what's an ideal prospect for you?
Today we're targeting enterprises, and certainly that domain is broad, right? I mean, I think future, we see this category that we're creating and empowering as counterpart to like observability. Let's just call it one category in tech, just for ease of understanding. So it's broader than this, but today, larger enterprises that have complex systems, a lot of complexity around their tech stacks and architecture. So we're talking about $500 million to $100 billion of enterprise value kind of enterprises. We've spent a lot of time with established enterprise software companies, enterprises with meaningful software teams building tech inside of them. From pure software players to energy to finance to actual verticals with big tech software teams. And on another side, we've spent a lot of time with tech companies that have kind of grown up over the last 10 to 20 years, probably not the last 3 years or 2 years, but have grown up the last 10 to 20 years, and are now at a point in time where they have a lot of maturity to their tech and are also starting to grapple with those types of issues.
And how would people engage with your company and learn more?
If they want to email us at gtm@catio.tech, that will be a great way to have us hear your message and respond. On the website, there's several ways to engage as far as signing up for a demo. And that's easy. 2 different ways to do it: get a demo or sign up. And so those are probably the best mediums. And of course, I'm always available on LinkedIn. If someone wants to DM me, I would welcome to talk to you.
Cool. Well, this has been great. So I can see why you got the award for the coolest tech.
Thank
So
you. I
it's
appreciate
pretty
that.
cool. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the growth and excitement around your solution.
Thanks, Walter. Really appreciate you. We look forward to scaling the company, and most importantly, all of that comes in the back of talent. Thanks, Walter.
Okay.
Great to talk to you.